Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today, this time with an article from Bleeding Fool, not Bleeding Cool, because hell no, I'm not touching that website. We're going to dip our toes into the pop culture scene a little bit here with a spin-off of the Walking Dead comic. This is from, like I said, Bleeding Fool, dated August 13th, and says Skybound Comics just fed the Walking Dead's Clementine to the culture war. If you don't know, I have read comics for about 30 years now in some form or another. I mean that by either the individual issues or trade paperbacks and stuff like that, which is mostly what it's been the last 20 years or so. And The Walking Dead is one of my all-time favorite comic book series. And in fact, until probably like a month ago, when this article here will reference another video from a YouTuber that I have followed for a couple years at this point about this, I had no idea this series actually happened. So I wanted to read this article because at first I didn't remember that video until it was mentioned here, and then I was like, oh yeah, he did talk about that. But I just want to see like what the hell is going on here. So this series here, I guess, is called Clementine, and it's a spinoff of a video game, or a Walking Dead video game, which again, I don't play video games anymore and I had no idea existed. But let's get into this because I've been rambling for about a minute 15 at this point. So it says, it's difficult to continue writing about comics because, quite frankly, most people don't care anymore, and unfortunately that's the case. Still my favorite medium out of all the mediums for stuff, but he's right, people don't really care anymore. It says, between the collapse of Diamond, and if you don't know what that is, I would read that linked article there, strangling the industry to professionals attacking fans, which is pretty much normal in the comic book industry, so just like it is in like movies, and the far-left ideology ruining continuity and classic characters, many fans have just checked out. And you can see the continuity or far-left ideology ruining all that stuff is all over the place. There's too many examples to even mention here. So here's the video that I was hinting at before coming up right now. It says, the author says, I am counted among that number, yet YouTuber Wes Dougherty of Thinking Critical had a breakdown of a character that I could not ignore as Skybound, the supposed tentpole holding American comics aloft, allowed an ideologue to ruin one of their best Walking Dead characters, Clementine, from the classic Telltale The Walking Dead games. Now, the reason this author is saying Skybound is the supposed tentpole holding American comics aloft is because Skybound right now, if you're familiar with The Walking Dead, which I'm sure you are if you're listening to this, is Robert Kirkman, who also created Invincible. It's his imprint at Image Comics, and they hold the licenses right now to G.I. Joe and the Transformers. And by the way, the Transformers comic is phenomenal. Okay, even if you don't like Transformers, I'd probably recommend reading it. It is probably the first trade paperback is probably my favorite thing I've read in like a few years. It's fantastic. And the G.I. Joe stuff is good as well. Never was as big of a G.I. Joe fan as Transformers, which is my favorite property from when I was a kid in the 80s. Love the Transformers to death. Have a bunch on my shelves right now. Yes, I am a nerd. You just don't hear it come out very often. But just to go into like who Skybound is and why this author was saying that, there you go. So now we're going to get back to the article. And like I said, I didn't know that there was actually a video game about this. I think though Telltale does like app games on the phone as opposed to an actual video game, but let's keep going. It says Clementine was one of the protagonists in the spin-off video games that are arguably the best Walking Dead video games of all time. Her story spans several games and DLCs. I don't even know what a DLC is. That's how long it's been since I played video games. PS2 is my last system that I have. It says, where you met Clementine as a young girl and taught her how to navigate the dangerous world of an early zombie apocalypse. It says, as an orphan child, you find a frightened Clementine hiding in a treehouse when she links up with escaped criminal Lee Everett, who I'm guessing is this dude right here, because I think they're doing right now what they did in the TV show, which is realizing that the zombies can smell you, so they covered themselves with blood to be able to walk through them unharmed. So it says, playing as Lee, you protected this young, sweet child and taught her how to defend herself when you couldn't, while Clementine taught Lee compassion and how to care for others as they met other survivors and banded together. It's very rare when a game elicits any emotion and breaks through my toxic masculinity. Nice. But outside of John Marsden, I never cared more for a video game character than Clementine. I don't know who John Marsden is. Like I said, it's been a while since I played video games. It says, and I wasn't alone. All 3 seasons of the Walking Dead games are highly regarded as you witness Clementine grow from a young, timid girl to a strong leader who happens to keep her humanity in an insane world. It was a no-brainer to continue her story in some form, and Skybound decided that known identitarian Tilly Walden was the perfect gal for the job. And, like, I don't know, but I see the name Tilly Walden, and it just for some reason sticks out in my head as that's a leftist name. I don't know why. It just comes across as like, yeah, that person's probably not going to be entirely fair. So the video here, I believe, is actually, yeah, this is actually Wes's video from Thinking Critical. And I know the channel is called Thinking Critical, but his channel revolves, it's just comic book stuff, or it's like movies based around comic book properties. But he has a lot of guests too. It's not just him. Very thoughtful stuff. And for me, someone, again, who's, read comics for 30 years now, just about, it is a very interesting channel, and I do watch almost all of his videos. So it says, after watching Wes's video, which again is embedded there, or you can just go to his channel and probably search for The Walking Dead or Clementine and find it. The author says, I am glad I was checked out of comics and missed this ongoing travesty. It says, in the end, this wasn't creative evolution, this was ideological replacement. And that's a quote from Wes in his video. It says, this is how Wes began his breakdown on Tilly Walden's outright ruination of Clementine and putting an end to any continuation to the Walking Dead series for now. Skybound ordered a 100,000 print run of Clementine, an unprecedented number given today's fiscal climate of American comics. Yeah, comics used to regularly, even when I started reading 30 years ago, comics selling 100,000 copies was like normal. Especially for probably like the top, 15, 20 comics in the top like 100 list. That was fairly normal. Nowadays, if something sells 100,000, it's like, even if it's just one, it's like a cause for celebration. That's how bad the comics industry is doing. So just to give you, again, just to put some context in there, like what that means. So when Skybound's ordering 100,000 print run of a spin-off book of the main series, yeah, they have large hopes for that. So it says, Wes posits that they did this to put all their chips behind the Clementine comic, continuing the Walking Dead universe in graphic novel form. And this is backed up when you read the cover of Clementine #1, where Robert Kirkman, again, the founder of Skybound Comics and the creator of The Walking Dead and Invincible, he's quoted as saying, Tilly Walden is the future. Her boldly authentic voice brings new heights to the world of The Walking Dead. I hate this. As soon as I say boldly authentic, I automatically, again, go leftist. So, and this is from, says, the Eisner and Ignatz Award-winning author of On a Sunbeam. I'm not familiar with Ignatz Awards, but Eisner Awards are the comic equivalent of the Oscars. Just, again, for someone out there that may be listening to this that doesn't know what that is. And there's Clementine, okay, and the art isn't bad if that's her. I don't know if she's just writing it, but the art doesn't look too bad. It says, but it didn't work out as planned, which Skybound should have known, as Wes says, and this is a quote from Wes in his video, says, this is a disaster happening in slow motion, and the fact that they've had no real sales chart presence for any of the 3 volumes shows that nobody really showed up. There was no real buzz for The Walking Dead, despite a decade of long-term success. And The Walking Dead, I think, I have nothing to back up what I'm about to say at all, but I still think it sells quite well. They're still reprinting the trade paperbacks and hardcovers. I have the 4 compendiums of the entire comic book series here, and I highly recommend, highest possible recommendation for probably the first 2 volumes. It kind of slows down in the 3rd and the 4th, but the final issue of the series, I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything, I wish it could have started from there again, because it's the final issue is fantastic. Robert Kirkman is a very, very good comic book writer. Keeping going on here and me not nerding out, says, after going through book scan data, Wes continues, fans wanted authentic The Walking Dead type stories. They wanted to see Clementine come out of the video games and into the comics as a survivor. But it's clear they learned early on that she was going to be a social experiment, so you know where this is going. It says, and we've heard this before. Self-insert or preaching to fans using Marvel and DC's platforms has been the norm for nearly a decade now with the big 2, and this is why American comics are losing to manga and other forms of entertainment. Now, Skybound has allowed another identitarian to use their platform to do the same thing with one of their most iconic, beloved characters in Clementine. And when you're a small publisher and you're not Marvel or DC and you're hiring ideologues to tell your stories, like, Marvel and DC can absorb that. Especially if it's on like a lower selling title, it's like, okay, fine, someone will tell their story, it'll come out and go away and nobody gives a shit. But when it's like you're a small publisher, even though your title is hugely popular, like, you may not want to just, on like your first spin-off book, because I don't think there was another Walking Dead spin-off book at all, you might want to not just throw someone on it who is going to throw politics into everything, because that's going to screw things up, and of course that's exactly what happened. So it says, and we bear this out when Wes quotes Tilly Walden when she says, we've sort of done a lot of what we can do in this American, especially Southern, especially male, especially white, especially able-bodied context. There you go. You know exactly what's coming next. Because as Wes points out, Tilly was not just rejecting the setting, she was rejecting the fans who liked The Walking Dead in the first place. Yes, I've read Clementine, that's the author, not me. Jason, have not read that, and I have no desire to. He says he's read it so you don't have to. And gone are the characters such as Lee, Kenny, Krista, and Omid, replaced by a poorly drawn gaggle of women and disabled people, which makes no sense in a zombie apocalypse. Yeah, when I remember, as this article was going on, I was remember what Wes is saying about this too, and it was like, you guys do know that, like, in a zombie apocalypse, if that was to actually happen, like the world of The Walking Dead was to happen, those people would be dead, like, they'd be some of the first people dead. Okay, even people with, like, type 1 diabetes would be dead in a week or two because no more medication's going to end up being made. So unless you end up with, like, the world's supply of insulin, you're dead. And it sucks. But people with severe physical disabilities are going to be dead too. And, like, but this is, again, we're going to put this in here because it's, because we're ideologues and we have to have, this sort of people in here, even if it goes against, like, the world that they live in. Now, I will say, too, that if they have somebody with a severe physical disability at the beginning of the apocalypse, which it seems like it was, where the whole thing started, that can be an interesting story. Okay, like, how would somebody with a severe physical disability handle being in the apocalypse? But if they introduce somebody like what they did in the TV show, and I only never saw the last season because it just got too boring and I just did not care, but they introduced a deaf character, like, somewhere like season 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there, and I think even at that point they acknowledged that they were like 10 years into the zombie apocalypse, and I was like, why is this person alive? Like, how is this person alive? And before you say, well, they had an interpreter with them, it's like, unless that person was with them every single second over the last decade, that lady who's deaf is dead. She's as good as, she should not be there. She's an anachronism, if you will. But if you put her in, like, the series Fear the Walking Dead, which is a spin-off TV show of the Walking Dead TV show, which took place at the start of the apocalypse, like, that would make perfect sense to me, and I think that, again, would be an interesting story. But to have her just show up after a decade and she can't hear anything, that's a problem. And in fact, I think they actually had, like, it wasn't, I think, an entire episode, but it was like one particular arc of an episode had her not being able to hear stuff, and people were trying to, like, help her, and it was just like, they're going to see her as expendable and just let her go. Or she's just not going to make it. Like, she shouldn't be there. But anyway, I'm rambling. Let's get back to the article. It says, of course, Clementine herself is now a lesbian, and they exist, but okay, fine, I understand you're bringing an ideologue, so now we're going to go ahead and, throw everything we can there, like every possible leftist thing. So it can't be a straight person, it has to be a gay person, which was an option in episode 2, Suffer the Children, when you were given the choice of choosing between Lewis and Violet, not Violent, as romantic partners. I would not want to be with someone named Violent. This Tilly Walden obviously chose the latter, and Wes then documents how she introduced a queer antagonist in book 3 of the comic, with her saying, "It was really fascinating to work on, and it suits where I'm at right now with queerness and queer stories, which is that at this juncture I'm craving complexity." So she apparently thinks queer just means complex, which isn't necessarily true. It says, "I want to explore the dark side because I feel as I get older, I see that dark within me more frequently, especially as you get further and further away from having come out and dealt with that initial blow of accepting who you are." I mean, she's making it sound like it's a horrible thing, okay? But all right. So it pains me to say that our beloved Clementine is yet another victim of this insipid ideology who may be beaten back but is far from broken. We have won battles in the culture war, but it's far from over. Instead of fighting each other on X, we need to remain vigilant like Wes regarding the continued destruction of our culture. And then the author says, check out his video below about Skybound's Transformers Energon universe. The Energon universe is where Transformers and G.I. Joe take place in the same universe, and they do connect with each other. So yeah, there you go. So that is it. Oh, it says, and then it's just more shilling for the author about his own stuff, and we're done. So I know this video is getting long at this point. You can tell I'm kind of passionate about this because, again, it's just seeing, beloved properties just get shat on by people who don't care about it and just want to insert their personal politics into it, as opposed to telling a good story, never leads to anything good. So I don't know if you've played the Clementine game or read the Walking Dead series or comic book series. If you have, let me know about those. Certainly would like to talk to people who share that same interest as I do, but let me know in the comments below what you think about this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.